Edinburgh Waverley railway station, the main railway station of the Scottish capital Edinburgh, and also the busiest railway station in all of Scotland. From here on you find many trains to all over Scotland and also to England. Today we'll be travelling on board of a TransPennine intercity that is heading from Manchester, and we traverse the stunning landscape from the rolling hills of Scotland to the dramatic peaks of the Pennines. It's called the TransPennine Express after all. Join me on board of this TransPennine Express along the west coast. For now, let's get this video on the track and let's roll the intro. Before we start with this video, a quick comparison on the environmental impact if you're traveling by train, car or plane on this specific route. I think the numbers they speak for themselves. Apart from the fact that time-wise, flying doesn't make a whole lot of sense on this route, we should stop having these short-haul flights, especially if we want to make the aviation industry more sustainable. I arrived by train at the railway station of Edinburgh Waverley. I took a train from Glasgow Queen Street. Even though this is a regional train, there will be a trip report on that as well. Before we discover more of the railway station of Edinburgh Waverley, let's see what we can find around the railway station first. The city centre is not too far away from here either. However, when I recorded this, I had a busy weekend, so I didn't have much time to visit the city itself. Let it be no surprise that around the railway station there are plenty of taxi stands, bus stops, and the tramway is also located pretty close to the railway station. Actually, Edinburgh Waverley has been built underground, or not really underground, but on a lower level. You don't really notice this at first. The railway station is rather big, and even many entrances and exits all around the railway station. At the most western part of the railway station, you find Waverley Bridge. This is basically a road that's located on top of the railroad station. Over here you find the old booking office, and I think back in the days this also used to be a spot where taxis could go more or less into the railway station building. I'll show you more of that when we go inside. You also have a great view on the railroad tracks if you look on one side. And if you look at the other side, you basically see the roof of the railroad station. What's not that interesting? One of the famous sites in Edinburgh is the Balmoral Hotel, what includes the Balmoral clock. The Balmoral clock is always 3 minutes ahead of the real time, so passengers can make it on time to their train. And even though I didn't put it well on camera, this here is the Balmoral clock. Integrated within the railway station, there's a rather big shopping mall. At least I think it's big, I didn't went in here. It's called Waverley Market. For now let's head back into the railway station building again. And now we use the entrance on Market Street. This is located on the opposite side from Princess Street. We also find the entrance and exit close to the tram stop. Over here there are elevators and obviously stairs. But at the moment there are no elevators, I noticed escalators here. In terms of accessibility, I think this is rather good. Although for me, being someone who is easy to walk, I can't compare this with someone who has more trouble by walking. At the main concourse, or basically above the main concourse and above the tracks, you find this bridge, what is linking the entrances and exits at Market Street and Princess Street with each other. These are the exits and entrances at the side of the railway station. From here on you have a nice view on the main concourse, the railroad tracks, and if we move on a little bit more, there's also a nice view on the old waiting room next to the booking office. We'll go here in a bit. Directions within the railway station have been given crystal clear, and also information about departing trains has been given at lots of screens throughout the railway station, and at the main concourse is a very big screen as well. At the entrance of Princess Street, where you also find the entrance and exit that is leading towards the tram stop, you also find another entrance to the Waverley Market again, the kind of shopping mall. And as you can see, there are lots of places for fast food. Well, like most railway stations. If we move down towards the main concourse, you can see here on the right the entrance I showed you from Waverley Bridge. Basically it seems like cars can just drive in. Although I don't think it's still being used for cars to go into the railway station. Mainly for some maintenance, I don't know. If you know this, let me know in the comments. This here is the main concourse of Edinburgh Waverley railway station. There are some shops, and obviously there are lots of screens that will host information about departing trains. It took a while before the platform number for my train popped up on here actually. Opposite from the main concourse. There is the main waiting area. There are quite a lot of seats here where you can take a sit while you wait for your train. Although I can imagine if it's really busy, this might not be enough to accommodate everybody who wants to have a sit within this railway station. Right next to here you find the travel center, basically a spot where you can buy train tickets. Although I do have to say, the infrastructure to buy your train tickets online within the UK is rather good as well. As a foreigner like me, traveling with rail passes might be very interesting as well. There are really nice, interesting Brit rail passes. And for this trip, I was traveling with the use of Interrail, or Eurail if you're a non-European. Basically, my favorite website to book train tickets within many places within Europe is Trainline. They can combine different booking systems with each other, and also rail passes can be purchased via Trainline. There's a link in the description of this video. Well, of course, you find all the other facilities you can expect of a railway station of this size as well. There are also some car rental companies. And what I mentioned before, directions have been mentioned crystal clear. Today we'll be traveling on board of a TransPennine Express train. This is a company that's mainly serving intercity trains in the north of England and the south of Scotland. Apart from TransPennine, Edinburgh Waverley is also being served by intercity trains of ScotRail, Caledonian Sleeper, Lumo, LNER, Cross Country, and you might find some lost Avanti West Coast intercity trains. The platform number for my train was given pretty last minute, not long before departure. So you can imagine lots of people moved into the same direction as what I did. Actually, the train I had today was rather busy. For most platforms you will find access gates, but that wasn't the case for the platform that I had today for this trip. Before we continue with this video, I hope you like this video so far, or if it's a helpful video to you. If so, please give me a thumbs up, I really appreciate that. If you like to see more trip reports about more sustainable ways of transportation, the main focus for this channel is cross-bordering and or long distance traveling, then hit that subscribe button if you haven't done this already. And like always, I try to do my best to be one of the first passengers on board of the train. Especially if I'm filming. It's more relaxed to film, and also I'm not bothering other passengers that much. But because the platform number popped up pretty last minute, lots of people moved into the same direction of the train. But even then I was still one of the first passengers to be here. However, the doors were not opened yet, what was really a pity. At least this gave me some time to shoot a thumbnail for this video, so I moved to the other end of the train to, shoot the thumbnail. But the doors, they stayed closed. And this while it was getting busier and busier. So filming in an empty train, that would be a bit of a challenge, and that's the least I could say. Even though I made a reservation for this railway journey, there wasn't a specific assigned seat given to me. It was just saying I have a reservation and that's it. Anyway, a couple of minutes before the official departure time, the doors went finally open and we left bang on time. There were no delays during this trip, thank goodness. But obviously my first priority was finding an empty seat within this train. Well, before I show you the interior of the train, let's take a close look at the exterior of the train. Today I'm traveling on board with a British Rail Class 397, also known as a CAF Civity. This train does have a top speed of 200 km per hour, and for the 5% of the world population that's not using the metrical system, this is around 125 miles per hour. These trains do offer 264 seats in standard class, or second class, just how you want to mention it, and in first class you will find 22 seats, making a total of 286 seats per train set. These specific train sets can mainly be found along the west coast route of TransPennine Express. I'll show the route in the network map of the TransPennine Express a little bit later on in the video. At the outside of the trains, the first class have been marked crystal clear. Just like most trains within the UK, coaches have been mentioned with letters, so A, B, C, D, instead of numbers like in most parts of Europe. At the side of the train there are LED screens that will host the carriage number and also the final destination. Well, that wasn't given yet at the moment I recorded this part of the video in Edinburgh Waverley. At the entrance doors, it has been clearly marked what seats can be accessed best if you take that specific entrance door of that specific carriage. So it might be easier to walk to the other entrance door of the carriage, because if your reserved seat is there, well, you get it. There's less congestion within the train if people just take this more in account. Now let's head into the train. Like I already mentioned before, it was rather busy, but I did my best to show you as much as possible on board of this train. But first things first, and that's finding a seat. For this trip I was traveling in first class. And even though you find the lowest capacity within first class, I show you this first. Right below the luggage racks, you find the seat numbers, and there's also a small display that should indicate from where to where a seat has been reserved, including a traffic light that's red or green, that's saying this seat is free or not. You basically only find seats facing each other with a really sturdy table in between, and if I fully recline these seats, it's actually really comfortable. Although personally I'm not a big fan of the seats facing each other. A British 3-pin socket and a USB socket are located within the seat. First class comes with some extra surface, but apart from that the seats are also more comfortable and you have more space in general. However, mainly because I was traveling in first class with Interrail, I went to the UK to film some, trip reports, because first class here is different. And on many long distance trains this includes some meals. For the TransPennine Express, the selection is different per moment of the day, so the time of the day that you're traveling on. And also the menu is different per route. Basically they have two intercity routes, the west and the east coast routes. For this, let's have a close look on the route map of the TransPennine Express. I started my railway journey in Edinburgh, and I will take the train that is heading from Manchester Airport. This train will also call the main railway station of Manchester what is Manchester Piccadilly, and also Manchester Oxford Road, what is a rather big railway station as well. I will only taking this train as far as Preston, from where on I'll take another train. At the moment I entered the train in first class, the tables were made, or at least it was a placemat, what was a creative way of the route network of TransPennine Express, and a bottle of water was on all tables. In first class, food and drinks are included. Shortly after leaving Edinburgh, I got a coffee, and a little bit later on in the journey, I ordered the vegan sausage rolls. What looks really simple, but was actually really nice. Of course, I could have ordered more, but this wasn't a long journey for me anyway. So for now, let's discover more of the train apart from the first class. Like I mentioned before, in the first class you also find the accessible area in board of this train. Let it be no surprise that close to the first class you also find a bigger accessible toilet, and this can also be used as a diaper changing facility if you're traveling with a little baby. At the vestibules near the entrance doors you'll find maps of the carriages. Basically the safety information, but also a seat map of the specific carriage can be found here, and also where you are in the train at this moment. Second class comes, as you may expect, in a 2x2 configuration. Because the body of the trains within the UK are a bit narrower than in most parts of Europe, the aisle is not that wide, but it's still reasonable. Well, I didn't find this uncomfortable, to be honest. Unlike first class, over here you do find more airline style seats, what I personally prefer much more than the seats facing each other. As you can see, it was rather busy during my trip, and even though there was still lots of space available for the suitcases and the overhead luggage racks, not everybody put their suitcases over there. A trolley service is normally available on board these trains. However, because it was rather busy and it was basically too busy for the trolley to move in the train, it wasn't moving this time, but it was just standing somewhere at the specific carriage. At the ceiling of these trains you will find LED screens, and these LED screens will host very basic route information. As far as I noticed, Wi-Fi is available on board of these trains, although I did not test it out. Even though some people were sitting in the vestibules, I think if you did your best, everybody could find a seat on board of this train. At the very end, or the very beginning of the train, at coach A, you will find this area here, and this is meant for people traveling with their bike. As far as I know, you need to reserve a spot if you're traveling with your bike on board of these trains. But please check the TransPennine website for the official terms and conditions for traveling with oversized luggage and also with bikes. Apart from the LED screens at the ceiling of these trains that will host basic route information, at the end of the open compartments you will find some other screens that will host more detailed route information. Just like standard class, right below the luggage racks you will find a screen and a kind of traffic light that will host information about the reservation, and at the moment the seats do face each other in standard class, you do have a sturdy fold-out table between the seats. Something I really want to mention that doesn't only count for this train but for trains in general. At the moment the back ends of the seats are right next to each other, this space can be used for luggage storage as well. I showed you already the accessible toilet, and this is how the regular toilets are. Obviously you find much more of these toilets on board this train. I mean, they're fine, nothing special actually. As you maybe already guessed, it was too busy to do a seat review in standard class. But I think it's okay-ish. Of course, first class is more comfortable, you have more space, and especially the service makes first class really nice. But second class, or standard class as they call it in the UK, on board of these trains, doesn't look bad to me at all. Because it was rather busy, I wasn't able to film as much as I wanted to, but I hope you still have a good impression of these trains. If you have some questions, let me know in the comments. I try to answer them as good as possible. For now, I'll just show you some views I had from the train, and I'll get back to you at the very end of this video. That's it for this TransPennine Express. It was really busy, especially the second class. First class was okay, though, but testing the seats in second class was a bit hard, so I didn't manage it. Anyway, I hope you liked this video. If you did so or it has been helpful to you, please give me a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more trip reports about more sustainable ways of transportation, the main focus for this channel is cross-bordering and long distance traveling, and hit that subscribe button. And right now at Preston, I will take a northern service over here. I don't know if I'll make a video about that, but let's see, I'm here anyway, so let's just do it. And then I'll continue with a Grand Central service to London. will be on other videos. For now, that's it for this video. Before we really end up this video, one last thing. Once again, thank you for watching. If you are interested in other videos, of course you can find them on this channel, and you can also subscribe to the new videos coming up. Apart from that, in the description of this video on YouTube, you also find a link to a map, and on this map you can find all videos as well. But then, on a map. See you on the next video.